Ew, ew, big fish ish. Y'all know what it is, and we're gonna get right to it. We're gonna talk about youth sports, and I got some notes that I wrote down. But as I've been observing youth sports over the past, I don't know, 5 to 10 years, I think we got some challenges. I think we have some problems, and I think that culture is being shown through our kids, and the things that are being highlighted are the things that we may want to get under control before there's no turning back. All right, so what are some of the things that I have issues with or that trigger me, or when I'm watching youth sports and I just kind of sit there and just shake my head because I think it's going to be a problem moving forward, and it's not necessarily teaching our kids the lessons that we're supposed to learn through sports. So it's more so just creating a brand. It's more so not necessarily learning the sportsmanship that comes with it. And maybe this is because every kid can have their own sports center now. They can create their own highlight tape with their parents sitting there watching the games. It just seems that so much more is going into it as the more exposure has shined a light, or just it's just become easy to expose yourself, and everybody thinks that they're a personal brand. Maybe it's the Dion effect, but I can't even just blame Dion. It's across the board. It's across the board. So we're going to get into a lot of these different topics. And Nori Muhammad, he actually went on Cam Newton's show maybe a couple weeks ago. I just saw the clip a couple weeks ago where he was talking about specifically with black kids, but this is across the board. But specifically to this issue, how black kids go into sports trying to become professionals, while other cultures' kids tend to go into sports and try to extract the lessons that they can learn from sports, and then they can pull those lessons, or I should say, use those lessons later on in the future when it's their business, when it's their family, just in their day to day relationships, whatever goals they have, whatever it is that they're working on, they can extract those lessons that they learned playing youth sports and then apply them to real life. Because what is sports supposed to teach you? Camaraderie, discipline, how to be committed, persevere, overcome different obstacles and challenges, how to prepare for something. All these different lessons that sports is supposed to teach us, is it really teaching us those lessons when we're prioritizing the other things around it? The personal branding, the uh, and I guess everything really that I'm focused on when I look down at my notes is the problem with the personal branding, and then things tend to fall under that umbrella. The things that I take issue with, like the showboating. You see a lot of the showboating, and it's funny. When I was growing up, my favorite player was Barry Sanders. Got to meet him, and it was one of the dopest moments. Maybe two Super Bowls ago, got to meet Barry Sanders. It was late night. We were just coming in from, I don't know, going somewhere, some event, and Barry Sanders is just like getting some late night snacks, just like we were. And neither here nor there. I got to meet my favorite player of all time, Barry. Barry Sanders used to just give the ball to the ref. That was a big thing. But then my probably second or third favorite player of all time was Terrell Owens. Terrell Owens was the first person, or one of the first people, that was really introducing a lot of the showboating and the entertainment aspect. Now, it was clear that that was with the NFL, that was with professional sports. But even with the professional sports, now they're incentivizing a lot of the athletes to celebrate. Where Terrell Owens, he was getting fined for some of the celebrations that he was doing. So it still set a precedent that, hey, if you're going to celebrate, you're going to get punished. So coaches in youth sports, I feel like they still had a backbone to stand on when it came to them trying to teach their kids that it's not all about showboating. Now, a lot of the professional sports encourage and incentivize the celebrations. Canada, when I went up to play in Canada, they definitely were encouraging it. It was a part of their entertainment. The NFL, now it's being encouraged. Now certain things that weren't allowed, the dancing, the celebrations, now they are allowed. Now every time a team does something, whether on defense or offense, it seems like the whole team gets involved, because what do coaches say? Well, it's just not about one person, get the whole team involved. So I get all that. But when it comes to the kids, it seems like the showboating is not just showboating. It is, and the problem is the showboating, but it goes beyond where it's trying to make that person on the competition feel terrible. Like I'm trying to not necessarily insult them, but make them feel small. I'm trying to rub it in their face, all these different things. Now people can sit back and say, "Hey, that's just they got to deal with it." Right? Bullying. Hey, sometimes it's good. And I get that. I get that. It builds character, all these different conversations. But when I see it to the standpoint, like it just seems like it's too extra. You got little kids mic'd up, so now they're being even more extra than they typically would be because they know they're mic'd up. They're talking crazy. It just seems like everything is about the entertainment aspect rather than the values and the lessons aspect. Now, I may be sitting here sounding like a Grinch, an old school dude. I don't know what it is, but I'm just telling y'all, I'm looking at it and I see it setting up our kids for failure. And then, just like most things that we tolerate, it becomes a slippery slope. So, where is it going to go from here? And things do move like a pendulum, right? So, we could be all the way over here. We tend to not just gradually work our way towards some type of balance. It tends to just be the extreme. So here, there was no celebration. Now it's all about the celebration. Here, there was no NIL, no personal branding. Now it's only about personal branding. I didn't even have my own highlight tape when I graduated high school. I had to use the team highlight tape, the one with the entire team on there. That's what I was sending coaches. I didn't even have my own individual highlight tape. Now kids are making highlight tapes. You in seventh, eighth grade creating highlight tapes off of the 4 points and 2 rebounds you got last game. And now I'm not saying that that's wrong, but when that's what you're doing it for, to me, it just takes away a lot from the values of the game. As parents, we'll enjoy it more, or I'm not a parent, so I can't say that. As parents, as godparents, as older people that are invested in a lot of the young kids and root for a lot of the young kids, you enjoy seeing those things. However, and I'm sure the kids enjoy seeing those things because it hypes them up, right? We tend to embrace the things where we're celebrated. But the kids don't know how that may be hurting them in certain ways. And it's not just about the celebration. I know I've kind of focused more on the personal branding, but even in different aspects of the development where now it's more culturally okay and acceptable for, if you're not playing on a team, oh, I'll just switch teams. And we see that because of now maybe the transfer portal. I don't know, where this type of, oh, it ain't working here, I'm just going to try something else over there. Try something else over here. I understand that because I just got to be honest, where a lot of the youth coaches, when I think back to the youth coaches, a lot of them did a disservice, in my opinion. And the disservice that they did was their egos. A lot of these coaches, when you're growing up in youth sports, as a kid, I don't think that coaches, even though they probably went through it as well, so maybe they do understand the power that a coach has. So let me rephrase that. They do understand the power that they have. And I think maybe that's a huge reason why a lot of these dads or uncles or big brothers get into coaching, where, it's a powerful position and they want to be in some sort of control as far as how their kid is playing, the playing time that they're getting, and the influence that they're making. Some may just want to help. I'm around certain people, I don't want to throw any names out there, where I could just tell, he's not coaching to get his kid or any of the kids to be playing the NFL. He's just coaching them to have a good time and to teach them the lessons. And you can tell it comes out in those coaches. You can tell by looking at and observing those type of coaches. They're going to make sure all the kids are involved. They're teaching the lessons, right? Then there's a lot of other coaches that have egos so big that they just won't even allow certain kids to play. You could have the best kid on the team and they may not get any playing time just because the ego of the coach. I've been through it. I've been through it. Didn't play as a freshman in college for whatever reason. We ain't got to get into the details, but I'm the best player out here. The best player out here. And because y'all hating for outside external reasons, because this person said that or whatever else, y'all not letting me play. So I understand that. I understand that parents want to have more involvement. I understand that a lot of the coaches that I had early on, when they didn't know that I had a father in my life, they were a lot more invested in me. Like they wanted to put me under the wing. Then when they realized that I had a father in my household, a supportive dad who was there, who was showing up to practice and all this stuff, because my pops just would just, he was never involved. He never would say stuff to the coaches. He would just, sit back and observe. But when they realized that, they're like, oh, I can have more of an impact. My ego, I want to work with that kid that doesn't have a father. I can control that kid more. I can have more, place more of my stamp on him or her. It's the ego. It's the ego. We all, coaches, politicians, teachers, whatever it may be, you want to receive credit for making a larger impact in somebody's life rather than perhaps investing in somebody who's you wouldn't make that impact in their life. I'm just talking through my own experience. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I can understand why parents want to get involved, but there should be some sort of balance. It's the whole pendulum swing. You know what I mean? Like we can't go all the way over here, we got a problem, but then solve the problem with something that creates a problem in the opposite direction. Kids have to go through certain things. The things that I went through in youth sports, whether it's getting cut from my 7th and 8th grade basketball team, that's what built the character that not only I relied on to get to the NFL, but the character to transition out of the NFL, which for a lot of people is just as hard as getting to the NFL, transitioning and now entering a new life to where your entire identity, based on being a football player, based on being the guy on the field, now you're not that guy. Now you're moving into a new industry, new people, where you don't have the same things that you can rely on from a specific sports related things, but you can draw those lessons. And if you're able to take those lessons and draw from those lessons then and apply them into other areas of life, then you can become successful. So definitely the kids not being willing to struggle, every kid thinking that they're going to the NFL, the NBA, the MLB at such a young age. I can't say that I dislike that, but I think there needs to be reality with the dream. So what do I mean by this? I was a kid that, look at any of my yearbooks, I said I was going to play in the Major League Baseball. I said I was going to play in the major leagues, the NFL, and the NBA. I was just that kid. I believed it. I knew it. It just was what it was. Now, fell short in some of the other leagues, but if somebody would have came to me and said, hey, you don't need to be dreaming big about playing professional sports. Nah, I'm not saying that that's the answer. But the same thing that I remember saying to a bunch of 8th graders or 7th graders who are now just graduated college, and I'm laughing because, yeah, whatever. But I remember telling them, based on their work ethic, none of y'all are going to the league. The only one that has a shot is such and such. And fast forward, 8 years later, that's actually the person who's trying to play in the NFL right now, while everybody else is not. Now, it wasn't because of the reasons that I was saying at that time. And the reasons why I was saying at that time is because I'm saying, look, y'all are not disciplined. You don't listen. You don't work hard. You're not committed. You're not consistent. All these different things that I was telling them, based on those behaviors, you're not going to make it how you say you're going to make it. Forget the NFL. You're not going to get a scholarship if you don't change this behavior. Based on the numbers, I'm going to be right. So I think there needs to be a certain amount of reality to go along with the dream when you have kids that dream. Just consistently reminding them what it's going to take, and then let them dream big, but let the dream be built on the actions that they're actually doing in reality. So I don't know. Just when I stand back and look at it, it just seems to be a question in my mind. Now, maybe I'm not in it enough to know that, hey, youth sports is actually doing a tremendous job right now, but somebody looking from the outside in and looking at it for, I want these kids to learn these lessons in life that they need to learn. So that way, forget football, forget basketball, forget tennis, forget soccer, forget baseball, forget hockey, forget lacrosse, forget track, forget all these other sports when it comes to becoming a professional. I just want you to play those sports to learn the lessons because those are going to be the things that stick with you and give you a competitive advantage over all of your other peers that are not investing as much time in sports. Where they may have the advantage in certain areas because you're putting your time in sports, where they may be putting their times in other areas, their time, effort, and energy, their investment, just like they're going to have a competitive advantage based on the things they're focusing on, you need to make sure that you, your kids, whoever it may be, is gaining a competitive advantage when it comes to the time and in their investment that they're putting into sports. Because if they don't gain that competitive advantage, then what's it for? What's it for? You're just banking on them playing professional sports. If the only gain that you're going to get from your kid being in youth sports is for them to eventually become a professional, then you're missing it. You're missing the understanding of what sports is and how crucial it is and how it represents life in so many different areas and teaches us lessons that we're going to be able to rely on and use for the rest of our lives. So let's remove the ego. No inflated egos. There has to be a bit more humility when it comes to this stuff, when I'm just observing. It just is what it is. And maybe I'll leave you with this. One of my most impactful coaches, Coach Shoop, my defensive back coach in college at William & Mary, I remember when he first came to our school, maybe I was a sophomore, and during that year, he told us something that just always stood out to me. And he said, some people like playing football and others just like being football players with the capital F and the capital P, right? Just the name. I want to be a football player because of all these things that come along with it. How people look at me. Oh, you're a part of the football? Yeah, I'm a football player. I can walk through the cafeteria with my chest out. I can wear the cheap sweatsuit that they give us, and people will look at me in amazement that I play a Division I sport. Other people just like playing football. Those are going to be the ones that give their all. Those are going to be the ones that invest into the game and are able to take away the valuable lessons. Those aren't going to be the ones that are worried about how my branding, worried about creating the perfect highlight tape. Those are going to be the ones that are worried more about creating their highlight tape by focusing on playing rather than the ones that are going to be spending more time trying to make sure that their edits are right on their highlights and stuff for the people. Nah, there's football players. There's people that like playing football and that love playing football, and there's others that love being football players. In my opinion, I think we should be encouraging our kids to fall in love with the game, to fall in love with the system of sports because it's the system of life. The work that you put in, the investment that you put in is going to determine what you get out of it. And sports is a very unique tool that we can use for us to gain tools and skills that we can apply for the rest of our lives. Because if we invest in the sports for the right reasons and focus on the right things, those tools, those skills, those habits that we develop there, they'll be the key for our success for the rest of our lives. So on that, I'll let y'all go. Make sure that y'all leave a like. Make sure that y'all subscribe if y'all haven't already. And most importantly, leave a comment. Let me know what your experience has been. Let me know your thoughts. We're all about sharing different perspectives on here so we can get real wisdom rather than just information, right? Wisdom is being able to take the information, being able to take the knowledge and have a good takeaway from it. So maybe we need to focus on the wisdom of sports rather than the heroism, or I don't even know if that's the right word, but focusing on gaining the wisdom from sports rather than just the celebrity of sports. I'll see y'all soon. Ew.